This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
He has time.
He's
Off
got
the
him.
left side. Dobbs is there. Leaping grab. Touchdown. Touchdown.
Good morning and welcome to Ken and Ken in the morning. You've got Ken, you've got Ken, you've got two bad internet connections, some rain, but got some Bear 6 actual, so it's all good as I drink my morning black gold. How you doing this morning, Ken?
Oh, about to kill Spectrum.
Internet companies, man. I mean, mine. I'm supposed to have a gig. I get maybe 100 MIP. I'm like, yeah, they're getting a call this week.
Oh, the worst part is I just had mine fixed Thursday, and I'm getting maybe a quarter of what I'm paying for, and that's if everything's running fucking perfect, which it never does.
Well, it's good to see some things didn't change while I went on vacation last week, including the NFL. Looks like not much happened last week.
Not really. I was gonna say, other than the Vikings saying that they're out on the Rodgers sweepstakes, ain't shit newsworthy come around.
Yeah, I saw that. So I was able. Oh, snowy Lakeshore this morning. That sucks. We got rain here. Good morning, Nicholas. When I was on the cruise ship, I was able to, we got the port. I get on my phone and check stuff, and I saw a thing on Rodgers, and it's like, I didn't believe that he was going to go to Minnesota to begin with. It was just some good fodder for the clickbaiters, but you never know. It's Rodgers. I think right now, from what I'm seeing, it looks like Pittsburgh is the one that really wants him. But I don't know if he wants to go to Pittsburgh.
I think that's honestly his best option is to go to Pittsburgh. They've got a real defense. They've got some weapons out there, even though there's talk that they might trade Pickens, but I think that's pure horseshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's spring break, which means we're coming to the draft, which means it's clickbait season for all the wonderful trade ideas, and there's still some really good free agents out there. And we talked about it on Hallis yesterday, like the Bears, for example. They've got about $16 million in cap, right? So unless they restructure some people, you figure they're probably done. However, no wide receiver. Well, they did sign a wide receiver, but more to be the return guy, right? That happened while it's gone. But there's still some good guys out there, some teams that could still use these people to come into the draft. Now, obviously, you think prices are coming down on some of those guys because they're still out there. But the clickbait on these people, it's like, Keenan Allen's going to sign a $114 million contract to go to New England. No, he's not. Because he would have done that 3 weeks ago.
I highly doubt he's getting a $114 million contract at his age.
Good morning, John. I missed you. Yeah, and then there's that. This guy's gonna retire. This guy's gonna do that. Good morning, Moonstar. Um, I guess now we have to start getting to draft talk, which for me is way too early still, but okay. I guess it is kind of that time. And Ken, I'm in a weird spot, and I can blame Broski for this. And now that I've said his name, he'll probably pop on here in a few seconds. We were talking about the draft and about the free agent market, what's out there, what the Bears need, obviously, because it's the Bears show. But he brings up a point. I think the Bears might draft a tight end.
Unfortunately, I think that would kind of be the swan song for Cole Kmet.
No, I don't think it'd be the swan song for Cole Kmet. Actually, I mean, it's a Ben Johnson wet dream. Because look, we know Cole Kmet got a ton of talent, right? So
He does like to run the two tight end sets like LaFleur saw.
So, well, here's the thing too. We know Cole Kmet's got a ton of talent. He's been underutilized in Chicago. They paid him like they should. They just don't use him like they should. If you had Warren and Kmet back there, could you imagine the two tight end sets? Because Warren can line up as a running back. He can line up as he's lined up in all the receiver positions in college. I mean, the things they could do with those two guys. Yeah, I don't know if it'd be a swan song. It might be a revitalization of Kmet, which I think we're going to get anyway. It's just the Bears are in a position like a month and a half ago. Remember, I was like, draft line, draft line, draft line. We're only drafting lines. Now it's like, I could see the Bears at 10 going with a weapon, a skilled player, be a receiver, tight end. I don't like Genty per se. I think
I don't know personally if I'd like a tight end at number 10. Like if you guys could move back a little bit, then sure. But it 10 to me for a tight end, unless it's like Joe's wet dream Brock Bowers. I don't know.
He kind of is. He kind of, if you look at the scouting report on this guy, look at his tape, he's kind of like Broward in it. He's like a George Kittle. This guy can do everything. Broski's kind of been selling me on it. I'm kind of starting to lean that way, but it makes more sense to me now than it did a week and a half ago.
But didn't Tevin Jenkins sign somewhere else to where now you guys have nobody at left tackle?
Tooney. We have Tooney at left tackle or left guard. No, we have.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought he was a guard.
He was a guard, and Tevin Jenkins was a guard. We still have our left tackle.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I kept thinking he was your left tackle. What the hell is your left tackle's name then?
Braxton Jones is the left tackle.
That's what it is Braxton Jones. Okay.
So the starting five is set. And I'm happy with the starting five. My big complaint about the Bears is this. The starting five looks really good. The depth, not so much. Now, I think Kieran will be better in year 2 as a reserve tackle, right? We still have we signed one or two. We have a couple guys on the roster, and one or two of them might be okay. Now, Pryor's still out there. He cost the Bears like 1.2, 1.3 mil last year. I think the Bears could very easily re-sign him for 1.3. The same, they could re-sign him for what they paid him last year. And Pryor was a great sub. He was a great, when someone got injured, he filled in. He solidified the right guard at the back end of the season. He really did. His play was outstanding. So I'd love to see him come back. Give him a small raise. Give him 1.5. I think the Bears could very easily bring back Pryor. But they still, for me, lack depth. But now that they've got the starting lineup they've got on both sides of the ball in the trenches, I could understand how at number 10 we could go tight end, we could go wide receiver or safety. Because one thing I realized yesterday for the Bears, dude, do you understand? The entire safety room for the Bears is a free agent next year. We will not have one safety under contract past this season. Good morning, Joe.
What's up, man?
So yeah, the Bears have not one safety under contract past this upcoming season, and Brisker, I don't know. I love him, but dude missed like what 12 games with a concussion last year. He might be one hit away from retirement, right? So the Bears might take a safety at 10, but if they take a tight end at 10, I think this guy's every bit as good as Brock Bowers. Whether that means Cole Kmet, I don't know.
Joe, do you have any thoughts on that?
Let's just agree to disagree.
Well, Joe's going to say no one's as good as Brock Bowers. That's his guy. But I mean,
that's exactly why I said what I did.
And Joe's like, But here's the question, Joe. If you didn't have Brock Bowers, what would you think of drafting Warren for the Raiders?
Yeah, he's a great player. Like, I think he's going to be, he's going to be in that upper echelon of tight ends, like with Laporta and Kittle, and Kelsey's on his way out, so I don't really count him, but yeah, I think he'll be he'll be in the top 5 of tight ends soon enough, but he's not going to be Brock Bowers.
And really, of course, he'll be Brock Bowers. He's not playing for the Raiders. But I mean, here's the thing, though. I mean, if the Bears were to go that route, Cole Kmet, they have an out on his contract at the end of the season, so he could be out after this year, and the Bears could save a bunch of cap money, right? They take $3 million in cap, but they gain like $5 million. For the next season, I mean, they could go a lot of different ways. I just think it's interesting from a Bears fan perspective. Before free agency, I was all sitting around here every day going, draft line, draft the line. First 3 picks got to be line, offensive defense. And now I'm in a position after free agency, and this is why I hate mock drafts before free agency. My entire board has shifted. Now I'm looking at best available, and I'm looking like the only position I really think I have a need at is safety in the first round possible. Because I can get a running back up into the 5th round, and I'm fine. I can get D-line and O-line guys in the 2nd, 3rd, 5th round.
Yeah, you could say this draft stacked at the line.
Yeah, and I can backfill my lines in other rounds. But now in the first round, I'm actually looking like, wow, I can go after a skill player. I can go get a safety. I can go get a tight end. I can go get a running back or a wide receiver. The only skill player I don't need, John Dorn, is a quarterback. But I can go get anything else I want in the first round, which is I cannot remember the last time as a Bears fan I was in that position, to be honest with you. Because every year
Malachi Starks is out there, dude.
I saw him. I like the dude got 3 solid years in the SEC. He's a little undersized at 6'1", 205, but the kid makes plays. And if he's there at 10, so I ran. You guys know I hate running the mock draft, but I ran some first round, 1 round mock draft this weekend just for giggles. And in the 3 I ran, that dude and the tight end, they were both there at 10. So it's really going to be interesting to see where the Bears go with it. If they're going to go safety or tight end, and here's the thing: there's another safety in this, or a wide safety draft. Is it a safety from? Yeah, another safety in this draft from Penn State. The Bears could get him in the 2nd or 3rd round, and he was really damn good. We had a partial ACL tear, missed a lot of last year. He was a guy who was projecting to be a first rounder. I mean, I can see the Bears going after that guy in the 2nd or 3rd round, but I can't see the Bears drafting 2 guys from Penn State.
Or there's Emanwari too.
Yeah,
Emanwari is from South Carolina, and his combine was just crazy, dude. His film is good too, but his combine is what it really upped his stock even more. He ran like a 4.3, and he's like 200 and something pounds. He's too big to be running 4.3. But he runs 4.3, and they were saying that you could put him at corner or you could put him at safety, and at safety he would be probably the fastest safety in the league.
There's some And there's that wide receiver out of Ohio State who's kind of further back. I mean, you might be able to snag him in the second round. This kid, look, I mean, Ohio State's wide receiver.
Are you talking about Ibuka?
Ibuka, yeah,
I think he's going in the first round, man.
If we're lucky, if he's there at the beginning of the second round, I think the Bears snag him. But even if the Bears took him at 10, I'd be happy. So I'm in a weird position right now. Like, I really am like, wow, I can just draft the best available player for my roster out there. I don't have to fill a need. I'm set, at least the starters for the most part. I'm looking at depth or just like a game changer. So this is kind of like where Ben Johnson was when he was a coordinator when they got Jahmyr Gibbs. They could take the best available player. And that's what the Lions did, and they took Jahmyr Gibbs. And then, of course, we know how that all works. But the Bears are in that position this year because Foles did the work in free agency. And it's going to be an interesting draft for Chicago. And it was weird because Broski having internet issues, so he'll be back in a minute. Broski really was hit dude, we could get a skilled player, and he's right. For the Raiders, you guys are kind of in an interesting position though right now too, aren't you? I mean, you don't have to get a quarterback. You don't have to get. You can you have needs, but you're kind of flexible in your needs, especially where you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a pretty good assessment. Like, getting Geno made it to where it took the pressure off of us to have to try to make a move for a quarterback in this draft, because things were looking pretty dire before we got Geno. It was like, it's looking like we're going to have to give up a whole bunch of draft capital to move up and take, Shedeur Sanders. Now we don't have to do that. I'm seeing a lot of mocks are predicting that we'll take Genty at 6. I think I wouldn't be thrilled with that pick, to be honest. If we're going to,
I don't think he's going to be. I'm kind of sharing, Broski's such a name, but Broski might be right. This kid might not be an NFL running back. I just think taking a running back that high, no matter who he is, even if it was Bijan Robinson, look at the Falcons. They have Bijan, and they're still, he didn't put him over the top. You know what I mean? I just don't. There are plenty of really good running backs that you could get in the second and third round this year that are going to be, really good starters. Yeah,
I'd rather go get a defensive piece, or if you want to get an offensive lineman, the best tackle in the draft. I'm good with that.
Well, I mean, and the kid played for Boise State. You didn't really face the strong competition. It's kind of like playing for Wisconsin. I mean, okay, so you beat U of I once a year, big deal.
I'd rather have Hampton. If you're going to draft a first round running back, I'd rather have Hampton. I know that their skill sets are not the same, and Genty honestly is probably going to be really good. I see that. I don't know what Broski sees. I get the level of competition that he played in the Mountain West Conference or whatever, but the guy's talented. He might be a bit undersized. If I don't know if that's what Broski's argument is.
I think he'll be serviceable, but I don't know if he's worth a top 10 pick.
Yeah. And I don't know if any running back is worth a top 10 pick right now,
I think part of that problem, though, Joe, I think is we look at the resurgence of the running back last year in the league, right? I mean, look at the stuff that agent moves did last year and re-amplified the running back. Now teams are going to, it's a copycat league. So now they're looking for their Saquon. They're looking for
they're looking for their Saquon. But to me, unless you can guarantee he's going to be Barry Sanders, I don't know if I'm taking him at number 6 overall, dude.
I mean, and Josh Jacobs had a nice season for Green Bay, but he didn't put him over the top. But still, you got to put him in that mix because teams are saying, well, look at Josh Jacobs helped Green Bay out pretty decently last year. Saquon had the year he had. I mean, all three of those guys were in the top 5 of running last year. I mean, I could see why. And look, you guys do need a running back, I can see why the scuttlebutt would be we're going to take Genty at 6, but I agree with you and Bros. Like, you can go in the second round and get a running back. Like, you don't
I would rather trade down out of 6. To be honest with you, like there's not like
down.
I would trade down. I would trade down in the first round, like because and pick up at least an extra second, maybe even an extra third. Like
You could do that with Dallas if Dallas really wants Genty. I think you're in a position where you could trade out of 6 to 12, so you don't go back too far. But you'd probably for that you'd get the swap. You'd probably get a second rounder and maybe a second rounder next year, if not a first rounder next year. I think that would be a good move for you guys because you can still get your running back or a running back that's going to improve your team. And then you can take that extra second round pick, and now you've got 2 second round picks like the Bears. You can get 2 quality players who may not start right away, but are going to be impactful not only at some point this year and for the next 3 years to come.
Well, see, yeah, I don't disagree with you in anything other than that. Those 2 second rounders will be starting this year because we lost so many players on our defense that they're going to be put in that role. Like,
But you know what I'm saying, though? Like, in the second round, it's the guy that you can start right away or not necessarily start right away, but they'll be impactful at some point in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that this second round this year, I think that this year, I think it's kind of short on blue chip talent. Like, there's probably maybe 5 or 6 blue chip players in this entire draft. And then, like, it's got a lot of really good players, like guys that are going to be, they're going to be good starters. They may not be all pros, but like, I think this draft is going to be good for building depth or for filling out your roster. But I don't think there's going to be too many superstars that come out of this draft.
And Broski, we were both, I don't think Joe wants him either, but hey, maybe Dallas will trade up from 12 to 6 to now.
Like if they trade with Dallas, that's fine. What I'm kind of hoping is that Shedeur Sanders is still on the board at 6, because then, like, if there's a quarterback needy team that wants to come up and get him, and the Raiders don't need him, like, we could trade out with that quarterback needy team, and we could get a haul. Like,
Phil, who said that? What moves did you guys make to win the division this year? I mean, look, I think the division is a dogfight. The division is going to be a dogfight in the NFC North. It really is. But I don't know if the Packers probably, they picked up was it a safety? I don't know. Packers are going to be interesting. The division is going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a dogfight. The draft is good question. It is coming up. The NFL draft is the last weekend of April, correct? So that's coming up. I think it's the 24th. Yeah, the 24th. So we've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks away. We're about 4 weeks away from the draft. Yeah, the last Thursday of April. So we're 4 weeks.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, 4 weeks out.
We have so many needs.
Now we're getting 4 weeks of mock drafts and whatnot. And look, there's still some free agent moves that can happen that can change the draft. Like if the Bears was to re-sign Keenan Allen, I think they might not draft a tight end or a receiver at 10, right? Because then they would fill that mold. Sometimes, yeah. Too bad. Look at Nick. It does. Too bad it doesn't start on 420. That would be a Ricky Williams move. So the NFL will never do it. Like the Bears, if we get Waller at 10, he puts a tight end role, a receiver role, a partial running back role, but let's say we go out and we re-sign Allen. I'm not saying what they're going to. Let's say they did. Well, then you're probably not going that route. Maybe then that says we're going to a safety. So we still might. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. We win the offseason every offseason. Don't you know? We're offseason champs. But honestly, though, like, when I compare last year, we were excited because we picked up offensive weapons. And we thought the line was going to be okay because the year previously, the line wasn't bad. The problem was we put too much faith in Shane Waldron. Now we've got Ben Johnson calling the offense, which I think everyone in their brothers, sisters, mothers, uncles, 5 times removed family member would agree is a step up from where we were last year. And we made personnel improvement. I'm not saying the Bears are going to win the North. I'm saying it's going to be a dogfight. I think, and because the Bears were competitive last year, the record wasn't great, but they were competitive in their game. Yeah.
I expect the Bears to be competitive in their record for the division. Like,
yeah.
To be honest with you, I think it just depending on how improved their offensive line is. But if you can even get the line to serviceable, I mean, you don't even need it to be great. You just need serviceable.
It's serviceable. If it's serviceable, which I think, and my big problem there, Phil, too, is the O-line, the starting O-line looks good. It's going to be serviceable. I think it's going to provide a ton better protection for Caleb. My problem with the offensive line right now is this. Where's the depth?
Mm-hmm.
I have no depth at center. I have a second-year guy to be my depth at tackle, Kieran. And look at the guy everyone looks at the Minnesota game. Yeah, he had a really tough, he's against one of the best pass rushers in the league in his rookie year on Saturday night being told, by the way, you're starting tomorrow, so no first team reps, blah, 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 all the other stuff. That's not an excuse, it's mitigating. But, so I'm not completely happy there. I'd like better depth. At guard, I've got a guy. I think there's another guy we can re-sign that would make me feel a lot better. He's not going to be that expensive, but I'm not comfortable with the depth. So, like, if Dahlman gets hurt, who's the center going to be? What's that going to look like? And it's going to be an open floodgate for pass rushing. That's my problem with the Bears right now. I think the Lions will take a step back just from the coaching aspect. Now you got some play callers, and the personnel change. I mean, Lions fans are laughing at Bears' new O-line, thinking that it's good or great. Well, you can laugh all you want, Steve. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that it's better than last year, and that's what we're saying. It's more serviceable.
And the games still have to be played. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the personnel they brought in, I hate to go to on paper again this offseason, but on paper, the offensive line is much improved, and you've brought in better coaching. That's another key factor because you can't bring in players. I think the problem last year is Bears fans looked at the line and said, okay, Steve says he's not laughing, Lions fans have no room to laugh. The Lions fans should also know that, coaching matters. And that's the big thing, too. It's not just that they brought in personnel, they brought in better new coaches. And I think we all agree Ben Johnson's a better coach than Shane Waldron. And then you look
I actually think that even though the Lions are a very talented team, I think they could go first to worst in the division in 1 year. I think this year I'm not picking them to win the division, and I think that they could actually end up in the basement just from all the coaching changes. They have Dan Campbell still, but Campbell wasn't calling the offensive plays. And
his mojo can only go so far. And Phil, you bring up a great point. We played the AFC North, I think, this year, right? Or whoever we played it. I mean, but remember, Phil, we all get that. The entire division gets that. It's going to be tough for all of us. This is going to be a tough division. I agree with Joe. The Lions have the most turmoil in the offseason, I think. And you can go to the Bears and say, but you just got a new head coach, a new DC, a new OC. Yes. However, we're coming from the bottom going up. You're at the top. And now you've done the same thing with all your coach. You've had massive overhaul on both sides of the ball in the coaching department. Yeah, your head coach is the same, but now you've got 2 new play callers, 2 new play designers. I think that hurts the Lions more than it hurts the Bears. The Bears, it's more of a positive. In the Lions, it's more of a negative.
And I was just going to throw out there also, there's the psychology of it too. Think about this. Last year, the Lions won 15 games and then went one and done in the playoffs and got their ass beat. Then their coaches jumped ship. Their offensive and defensive coordinators jumped ship and went to other teams. Do you think that there's not going to be some kind of psychological hangover from that where they're like, dude, we won 15 games last year. You know how hard that was to win 15 games? Like, I think that there could be some of that as well. But I will say this: the Lions are a resilient team. Like, their players, they've shown that they're a resilient team. So maybe they don't have the psychological hangover, but just pure coaching wise, I expect them to be not as good as they were, nowhere near as good as they were.
I think they will have a psychological hangover. It might be more mitigated with Detroit than maybe some other teams normally get. How can you not? You go 15-1, go one and done, and within not even 36 hours after you're done, your offensive coordinator bolts Chicago and says, "This is exactly where I want to be." And then a week later, you lose your DC. Now he's like, "This is where I want to be." It's like, wait, you guys didn't want to be in Detroit, and then look at the stuff that happened in Detroit when these guys left, and then you've got all the other coaching changes that were below the coordinators where they lost, positional coaches to other teams. I mean, it's a huge overhaul there. I mean, I think there's a little bit of the emotional hangover, and then there's just going to be the adapting to the new coaches and new play callers. And even if they use the same playbook, it's going to be different because the shot callers are different.
Yeah.
So, in Green, like, Ken, who's Green Bay getting? You guys got what, a safety in free agency?
No, we got offensive lineman and a corner.
That's right. So they made some moves. So I mean,
and we got a return guy.
Well, yeah, the return guy is important though. I mean, if you look at the North, I think all the teams did a little something. I mean, the Bears obviously had the most work they needed to do. So of course, that's why we've had the most work we needed to do for a couple of years. That's why we, with off-season champ. But like the Packers didn't need much, and they pretty much addressed what they did. I don't think that the Packers make a big move before the draft because they don't have. They're going to draft.
Yeah, if we're lucky, we'll move up and get some type of impact player. But I wouldn't go out and bet the house on it because
they didn't get the receiver they wanted yet. And to be honest with you, I don't think we're there at the draft. They could probably get a good receiver, but they don't take receivers in the first round. So could this be the year they take a receiver in the first round? I don't know, but I mean,
you could always trade with us.
I don't think the Packers. No, I don't see them moving up to 6.
You could always come up to 6. Go get Ted McMillan or get Ibuka.
Brent,
I was going to say, for a second round pick, you might be in.
I mean, Brent.
Well, I mean, it would cost more than that. To go from 23 to 6 would probably cost more than a second. But, I mean, the Raiders would be willing to play ball, I'm sure.
Brent, the thing you got to understand about Joe's comment there about the Lions possibly finishing the basement is not saying the Lions are going to be a bad team. The thing with the North, and we saw this last year, the difference is so minute. It's like last year, the Bears had a season last year where everything that could go against them went against them. You go back 3 years ago, and you had the Vikings who had a season that anything that could go their way went their way, right? That's the difference in this league. The difference between the Bears last year and the Lions is a couple of plays. This way or that way, a coaching call one way or the other, a timeout called or not called one way or the other. And that's just the entire division. If you look at the NFC North, any one of these 4 teams can win the division. Any one of these 4 teams can be in the basement.
I wasn't saying that the Lions are going to be a 4-win team. I was saying that, the basement in the NFC North could be 7 to 9 wins. Like,
That's the kind of division that we currently have. I think that's the problem set for North fans is we usually say, well, if you're in the basement, that means you won 4 or 5 games, whatever, and you weren't in them, you were really terrible. But you even look at the Bears last year with their 5 wins. They were terrible in situational football with coaching decisions and getting some bad luck. But, look, you remember going into Washington, they were 4-2. Right? I mean, they were 4-2. So, I mean, they were a competitive team. And then look at the game they lost to Detroit. Bad clock management cost them that game in Detroit.
I also didn't say that sorry.
No, go ahead.
I also didn't say that I expect them to finish in the basement. I just said that I could see potential there that there's with all the turnover in the coaching and plus the psychological hangover, I think there's a chance that they could go from first to worst. That's all I'm saying in the division. That's all I'm saying. I didn't say I expect it to happen. I think the Vikings could have some growing pains with JJ McCarthy, so I could definitely see them ending up in the basement of the division, but still winning, 7 games, 9 games, or if JJ hits, if he comes out playing well, who knows? But
look at the Packers last year. They don't block the field goal in Chicago. That's a loss. They don't get a play here, a play there, in a couple of the other games. They could have had 2 or 3 more losses than they had last year. Just because in those games stuff went their way, or the other team made a bonehead mistake. That's not saying the Packers aren't good. It's saying that all these teams, they sometimes you win a game because luck goes your way. You have 2 good teams, and you happen to have the ball last. You happen to make a play on a field goal. The other coach happened to flub up a timeout or make the wrong call. This happens in this league, right? I mean, the parity in this league, in some divisions, the parity is way far between. But in some divisions, the parity is pretty damn close. And North is both North, AFC and NFC North. The parity is pretty damn close where any one of these teams can beat any one of these teams on any given Sunday. Mm-hmm. So the Lions going from first to worst, or the Bears going from worst to first, completely not out of the realms of possibility. We've seen it in the NFL time and time again. Teams go from first to worst, or worst to first, or teams were in the middle of the pack for 2 or 3 years and all of a sudden just come out and dominate the division. Mm-hmm. I mean, all these things are possibilities as we come into the season. And it's hard to tell with some teams, like really for me, the hardest team to tell right now is the Packers. Because they made some decent moves in the offseason. They didn't have to swing for the fences. They were a decently good team last year. They're a good team. Are they going to steamroll people this year? I don't know. Are they better in year 2 of Josh Jacobs with Jordan Love and now year 3 in Jordan Love? This typically would be that year for a quarterback that he's going to have a year. It's probably going to be this year, right? That third year is usually that year where these guys just come flying out the box, right? Year 1, it's that first year starting. You almost like if Jordan Love was not a rookie, but you almost treat him like a rookie in this argument. Year 1 was the first year starting, so okay. Then year 2, it was a little bit of a down year. Year 3, typically, as a starter, year 3 is when they take off.
And I hope, beg, and pray that's what it is for all these Packer fans that have sit there. Get rid of Jordan Love. He got paid too much money. This, that, and the other. He's not Brett Favre. He's not Aaron Rodgers. I cannot wait. Because from what I've seen, it seems like he should be taking a decent step. I'm not some quarterback whisperer here. I'm just some average fucking Joe. But from what I've seen out of him, I expect this year to be a pretty fucking big year for him.
I would expect...
Actually, you're an average Ken, but...
Actually, and that's coming from the average Joe. So the average Joe is saying the average Kens need to take this into consideration. I would expect Jordan Love to have that third year jump. I would expect Caleb Williams to have a little bit of a step back normally. This is a weird situation though with this coaching staff. I would not be surprised if he has a small slump in some statistical categories. Maybe you see a step back for Caleb, but you see a step forward in others, and that's because of the O-line and coaching change, right? Like he's obviously not going to take as many sacks. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see more turnovers out of Caleb this year or something like that, right? So I
think that's I was just going to say, I think the category that you're going to see it go up is his interceptions, but I think that you'll see his touchdown passes go way up too. So it's going to be the inevitable thing where it's like I expect that Caleb will play better this year. He'll throw more picks, but that's because, you can't throw 5 picks a season consistently. Even Aaron Rodgers only did it a couple of times. You know what I mean?
And if you look at, Minnesota's going to have the rookie campaign, so they're going to have probably good quarterback play. He probably learned a lot going through rehab last year and being around the team, but it's still going to be his first year starting. So JJ will have his ups and downs. And then you go to Detroit, and now it's a new play caller, and Goff is honestly that the $48 million seems like a fair price now because that's an average quarterback, and that's probably what Goff kind of is. He might be a little better than average, but now with the new play caller, I expect him to have a kind of statistical down year with that offense. And look at that offense; it also lost some personnel besides losing its play caller, play designer. So it's going to be an interesting year in the North. And the Packers, though, they are poised. If Love has that third-year breakout, where they could be, you could see them as division winners, and the Bears right behind them, and the Lions and the Vikings behind them, in a division where maybe one game of separation. Or even
the thing that concerns me about the Packers, though, is that they still haven't addressed wide receiver. And I get it, like the free agency market wasn't really great for wide receiver, so it's not really an indictment on the Packers. It's just them. It's just that it concerns me about them. Like I'm not going to sit here and say like they're the favorites to win the division with that wide receiver core. Is all I'm saying. Like they need to do something in the draft. And the draft isn't really like deep at wide receiver either. So it's like I don't really see a solution on the horizon for them.
This is exactly why I'm pushing so hard for us to actually draft a receiver in the first round this year.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it makes the most sense that's where you need an impact player. Go out and get the guy. And that's why I even want to trade up for him. I don't want to take the chance that we have a repeat of the JJ situation where, we're just going to wait for him to come to us, and somebody's in front of us and just took him. Damn.
John,
that's what I'm saying. Trade with the Raiders at 6, man. You trade up to 6, you can get Ibuka, because I would rather have Ibuka than Tet McMillan, to be honest. Like, take Ibuka. I think Ibuka would be great as a Packer.
For you. I mean, but I don't think they have to move up that far to get.
No, I don't think so either, but I'm just throwing it out there. Like, if you want to guarantee that you get them, right, like, that there's nobody that's going to jump in front of you.
Well, let me hit two things. First off, John, it won't take Caleb Williams to put your foot in your mouth. You do that daily. But secondly, that's not something in their DNA. That's not something. I mean, seriously, like that's just not something that Green Bay does. Like Green Bay's never been that team that jumps up in the draft to make that kind of move. I don't think they have the impetus to do it because there are still some good wide receivers out there in the free agent market that will make them better. I don't see, and they've never. And look at when was the last time they took a wide receiver in the first round? I don't see Green Bay.
Javon Walker in 2002. He absolutely terrified everybody from ever picking a fucking wide receiver 1 in Green Bay ever again.
Yeah, and that's fine, John. Like they were top 5 in total offense, even with all those drops, and even with not having a number 1. But they also were one and done in the playoffs. And, you won, what, like 10 games? 11? Did you win 11 games? Okay. So, like, I'm not saying the Packers are a bad team. I just simply said if they want to take the next step forward, they need a receiver. And the thing is, because of circumstances, like because the free agent class isn't really strong and also the draft class is not like overstocked like last year with great wide receivers, you're going to have to, I think the Packers should go out of their comfort zone and they should trade up and get a guy that is at the top of the draft. Like, and I think they could do it, Ken. Like, I know what you're saying, and like they don't go against their nature, right? But I think that it's going to require them to do something that they don't normally do. And I think they should, honestly, what do you have to lose? Like, you have a team that's built to win now. I mean, you don't really need the draft picks. Like, go up and fucking get your guy and take a chance. Like, you don't want to miss out on Jordan Love's third year, that step forward that you're expecting. You got to give him the ammunition to do that. Like,
and I put it to where I wouldn't be surprised if Goody makes the bucking of the trend here by trading up and getting a receiver or just staying put and taking a receiver, because we saw last year we had a major positional need at safety, and Green Bay doesn't go out and sign big name free agents. I've seen maybe 3 or 4 just in my lifetime total, but he went out and did it. So I gotta hope that Goody has that in him where he's willing to say, all right, we may be doing it this way, but it hasn't produce what we want to do. Let's try this.
Well, I mean, and here's the other piece to that, Ken. And look, at the Packers. Well, I mean, you guys were spoiled with having Rodgers and Favre. We've talked that acknowledgement, and you get it, you know. But here's the problem with that. And we've talked about this part too. Create a situation where the Packers always had a first-round pick that was later in the draft because they were in the playoffs every year. And they were always they were never able to take that jump forward because of their draft position. And yet here we are yet again, right? They're in that same position they've been for the last 10, 20, 30 years, and look at, they've gotten 2 Super Bowl rings out of it, but I think they've done themselves a disservice in a way because they never get that big piece they need to maybe put them over the top. And yet here they are again, where, okay, yeah, you're winning, you're going to be a playoff team, but you're still mediocrity, so to speak. And I don't mean mediocrity in a bad way.
Ken, I totally get what you're saying, because you're saying right now what I've bitched about for years, because I have felt that at least during Ted Thompson as general manager, I'm not going to put it on Goody fully yet.
Right.
But with Ted Thompson, to me, it seemed like for him it was good enough to make it to the playoffs and just compete every year and hope that, hey, maybe the stars align this year and we sneak one out.
Aaron has a year.
And that's what I am tired of personally. I want to see us say, you know what? Screw it. Let's go balls to the wall. Make some type of move that's going to put us over the top.
I mean, look at the division, right? The Bears swung big in trading off the first-round pick. Look what they got out of it. I mean, now look at where the Bears are because of it. The Bears aren't in that position they're in right now if the Bears don't trade that number 1 2 years ago. You look at Minnesota when they made some of their moves and why they're competitive. You look at Detroit and their moves in swinging big and why they're competitive. And all the while, here's Green Bay being super conservative NFL franchise. We don't trade up. We don't sign big names. We don't get receivers in the first round. Oh, but look, it works. It works because, look, we're in the playoffs again. Oh, look, we killed Dallas in the playoffs the year previous and made it to the second round of the playoffs and this, that, and the other. And then, oh, look, we're in the playoffs again this year. Although the whole division was one and done, but we were there again. See what we do here in Green Bay works. No, it doesn't, because you don't progress. You've been stuck in that. Yeah, we get to the playoffs, but we don't get to the Super Bowl. So you're stuck, right? And I think, look, I hate to see Goody do it as a Bears fan, right? Because, oh, crap, Goody gets it. They're swinging big to fill that big hole and get that piece. And they did a little bit of that the last 2 years with the guys they've signed. Josh Jacobs, signing Kinney. They changed it with the free agent market, but you almost were forced into that because of the way the free agent market has gone. It's been harder and harder. He had to take a swing because there just wasn't anything else out there to fill the need that he had. But now the next step for the Packers is do it in the draft. Take the big swing, trade down the stick, give up some stuff, go get the guy you need to put you over the top to solidify your chances of winning this division in a division that's already going to be super tough, and do it. I mean, because look at Dobbs. I'm sorry, like Dobbs and Watson, they're okay, but they're not the guys that are putting you over the top. And
Watson, I will say, before that injury, looked like he was stepping into that number 1 role. But I can't trust him to be the number 1 without the injuries he's had.
Dobbs is playing bigger than Dobbs plays bigger than what you think he should be, but he's not sustainable at that, right? He does it in flashes, but it's kind of like Darnell Mooney. I don't want to compare him completely to Darnell Mooney, but it's like Bears fans with Darnell Mooney. Oh, Darnell's the number 1. No, he's not. He's a high 2. Dobbs is probably a high 2. He's never going to be number 1.
I actually agree with Dobbs being a high 2 there, because he had more than every opportunity to step into that number 1 role this year, and to me, he came up short almost every time. Now, granted, he had a couple of crazy catches to where, oh my God, it looks like the guy's getting it. But my major knock against him, and it's honestly not even his fault, is the concussions that he had at the end of the season, especially that last one. I am worried that is now going to be an issue for him. And to bring up something that we mentioned in our MMA Maniacs the podcast there, he got his jaw cracked.
You know, and look at the free agent wide receivers right now that are still out there. Here's the other thing too: is there's still some good ones, right? I mean, all the big ones are gone, but Amari Cooper's still out there, right? I mean, Stephon Diggs sign while he's gone?
No, Stephon Diggs is talking with New England, but they haven't offered him a contract until pretty much how I heard it is it's more a see where you were in your health progression because he's coming off of a major injury.
Yeah.
And I think Amari Cooper's more your consolation prize. If you waft in the draft there and don't get anybody, that's when you say, all right, screw it. We'll see what Amari can do for a year.
No, you know what? You know where Amari, I think Amari could contribute the most is with the New York Giants because they already have neighbors. So he's not going to be expected to do everything. I think that could be like, if the Giants still have some money, that would be a sneaky good signing for them, especially because they're going to be drafting a quarterback.
I mean, but look at here's some free agents out there. Just being Green Bay specific, real quick, and I don't care who people say they're talking to. We all know what's reported sometimes is so far off base. You know, oh, well, he's talking to Buffalo. And you find out he never talked to them.
Well, I got the perfect example. The whole fucking Pickens shit that Green Bay supposedly one of the top guys or one of the top teams in it for him. For one, I don't think Pittsburgh's getting rid of him. And for two, I don't want that freaking head case on the team.
Real quick, here's what we got. Amari Cooper's still out there. Stephon Diggs is still out there. Keenan Allen, even though I doubt, he says he only wants to go to one of three teams. He's out there. Deontay Johnson is still out there. Elijah Moore is still out there. Nicole Hardman Jr. is out there. Brandon Cooks is out there. These are all, Tyler Boyd. I mean, now we're going back a little bit. He's out there. Juju signed. Aguilar.
McCall Hardman did sign. He signed with Green Bay.
Who did?
McCall Hardman.
Okay, so it didn't update. Whatever.
Yeah,
I'm looking at
he's the one that's going to be the returner for us. I don't expect him to play a big role as a receiver.
Yeah, it just didn't update yet there. But, look at before I even got to him. There are some guys that Green Bay can sign for decent money if they don't go in the draft, and they could still. Mari would look good in Chicago. I mean, look, you could have any receiver that third slot in Chicago, and they're probably going to look good, to be honest. But I mean, we're talking more for Green Bay trying to assess the need. Look, is Amari Cooper going to be your number one? Well, I mean, I think he's better than Dobbs in some ways, but he's going to complement Dobbs and Watson and make that offense better.
To me, that just sounds like we just added another number two to the mix. And hey, let's see if somebody happens to step out and shine.
It's a depth move, and it's not the move you need.
CFF is saying Amari Cooper is probably going to be 2 years at 30 mil. Stephon Diggs would be a 1 year, 16 mil deal. That's what the price tag on those are right now. Keenan Allen, they were saying like 12.5 mil average. But I don't think those guys get that. I think the longer this goes, the cheaper they get. So I mean, the value, and the Packers have the cap room to sign any one of those guys. I think it would make the room better though. Amari Cooper would free Dobbs up, free Watson up a little bit, right? You gotta still respect Cooper and cover him, right? So now it maybe frees up Dobbs to look like a number one, even though he's a high end too. But the Packers don't necessarily have to make the big move, but they should make the big move. They should.
I think they do have to.
I was going to say I'm going the extremist route here, and I'm done of playing the whole fucking. Oh well, we'll see who can step out. We'll add this guy. We'll add that guy. But none of them are anything, major. No. I've had enough of that. We've tried that more than enough times here in Green Bay. I want to see a splash move. Go out and get Jordan Love, a legit dude.
Mm-hmm.
Ken, I'm just trying to temper expectations. Okay, that's all.
I know what you're doing, and I'm over here with the fucking bellows for the fucking flame. Let's fucking go!
Yeah, I'm right there with Ken on that one. Like, it doesn't. You tried saying, hey, like, we need a number one. Okay, well, let's go get another number two. Like, it doesn't work. So just spend the money, go get a number one. And I'm not talking about in free agency. I'm talking about spend the money, meaning draft picks. Go get your guy. Like, if you trade up to 6, you have your pick of any wide receiver in the draft.
Maybe you make a trade as well. Maybe they go trade, weird combo players and draft picks. And there's some ways
Mhm.
we make.
If they made a trade for a receiver, I'd still do backflips. Anything in that realm, I'm happy with.
And before we get, because we're getting close to time, and Ken's on me like a school teacher with a ruler waiting for me to curse all the time. Just a couple other program notes real quick, guys. You can also listen to us on Spotify, and I believe we're now on Apple for the voice-only version of the show. You can catch us there now. So if you go to Spotify, search Ken and Ken in the Morning or House Hall Report. We're in Spotify. I believe we're in Apple now as well, as we're expanding out in our partnerships across the way. Also, don't forget, well, today's Monday. We don't have any additional shows. But the Roku and Fire TV, if you want to watch us that way, just go on to Roku or Fire TV, go in your search button, type in Huddle Sports Network, and you'll see our little microphone there, and you can download us onto your Fire Stick or your Roku and watch us that way. Of course, you can catch us on X, which where Nicholas used to catch us for, at Ken Da Bear Fan, my name right here on the screen, and at the Huddle Sports on X, and of course YouTube, Facebook. We're there at Packerbacker News, Huddle Sports Network. Catch us all there. But I just wanted to make the note because we have expanded out now to Spotify, and I believe we're on Apple now as well. And we're not done expanding. Now, some of the new expansions, guys, are the voice only, so you can download the podcast if you're traveling and listen to us on the road or on the airplane or whatever. This way we just break your ears, not your eyeballs. But look happy about all that, and of course we got so much more we can talk about tomorrow in the next week about I think the Packers need to make the big move. I think the Bears aren't done completely. I think the Raiders are a great wild card in all of this as we lose our average Joe. Ken, we got some good content coming up.
Oh yeah, and it's that fun time a year where there's not too much news. So hey, you can get crazy with some of the speculations because you got all these national medias doing it. Why not play a little devil's advocate and have fun?
Yeah, and like I said, if we weren't doing that, I would probably still be stuck on we have to draft line, and bros be like, got me thinking, maybe not. So, some things to look forward to, guys. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for making the comments. We got some other big stuff coming along the way. And, hey, thank you, Bill the Packer fan, for the new coffee commercial for our coffee. I just had my Bear Sticks actual this morning. Order some coffee from Steve. Great product. But we're out of time for today. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Everyone have a great day. Hope you're having great weather. Hopefully, Ken and I get our internet fixed. And we'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great one, everyone.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.